Howdy folks, Greyhawk 4x4 coming at you again, your resident vintage gamer, and this is going to be a gaming vlog, long overdue. Let's roll. So for this gaming vlog, we'll get you guys caught up on the campaigns, the tabletop campaigns that we're running, and we'll talk about a couple. I have a little bit of a reaction from E3. And then I also kind of want to talk about the new 5th edition stuff that's going to be coming out here in the near future. So let's get started with the two campaigns. My Greyhawk campaign, my 1st edition Greyhawk campaign, the party has been engaged in a lot of different storylines. They're technically going through the Temple of Elemental Evil, but they keep going into the temple, and like shit goes bad for them, and then they got to come back out again. So, which is not uncommon with the Temple of Elemental Evil. Our most recent incident, let's say, was that they realized that they needed to be more prepared for the temple. So they loaded up on healing potions and a bunch of different and rations, and so that they could basically stay in there a while and survive without having to evacuate and restock and come back. They planned it out right, and but they went in and went down a particular path where there just happens to be a basilisk. And so they lowered down the gnome assassin / illusionist via rope. They didn't know what was in the room, so they lowered him down via rope so he could kind of scout it out. And of course there's a basilisk in there, and he failed his saving throw. So he became a statue. A little gnome-sized statue, And so they, of course, had to pull him back up, and the rest of the party members decided we better get back to some town and see if he can be, made whole again. If there's like a stone to flesh type of a deal that can be cast on him or something like that. So they decided to go back to Devers, which is their hometown. It's not where they're actually all from, but it's kind of their home base where they've been operating out of for the most part. And it's a big city. So they decided to go back there, and there were several in-town adventures, encounters, and so forth. But when they got before that all happened, the night they got back, they knew that they had to wait till the next day to go to see the clerics, the healers, see if anything could be done. So they went to the world famous Bloody Scabbard Tavern, which is owned by Oak, which I think we've talked about before on these videos, and they basically set the Hingle, the gnome, his little statue. They set him on the bar. Basically, while they all decided to party and drink and watch the bards and gamble and fight or whatever it was they wanted to do, and there happened to be the traveling sage, the chronicler known as Cloche, who is a very magnanimous, boisterous character, NPC, that he's the one that travels, kind of like, if you're familiar with Forgotten Realms and Volo, he is my version of Volo in my Greyhawk campaign. And he goes around, and that's all he does, is he documents, stories and tales of adventure and legends and rumors and all these things, and that's what he enjoys. But he's very boisterous, he's very verbose and all that. And so the atmosphere turns to that of a big party and everything. And the bottom line is, the NPCs start like messing with the statue. They're hanging beads off of his ears. They're going up, and somebody decides that one of the NPCs just says, hey, if you rub the statue's nose, it's good luck for the next day. So they're all the drunks are going up there and rubbing his nose for good luck and everything. And at some point, our adventuring party gets around him, and Oak in the background, the owner of the tavern, and Cloche decides to do a nice big sketch of the adventuring party with the statue and Oak, and it's this beautiful sketch that he's doing to document this occasion. But of course our gnome buddy's got the stuff all over his ears and and everything. And at some point, one of the members of our party, known as the horse guy, because that's what the gnome calls him. His name is Karsus, and he is from the northern Backlundish area of Greyhawk, and so he has a little bit darker skin, and he's a stable boy / horse trainer by trade. That's what he was growing up to be, and so forth, before he was forced into adventure and all that. And so our gnome friend calls him Horse Guy. And for whatever reason, the player decided to roleplay this and say, you know what? Karsus is probably going to go out and get a little bit of horse dung and rub it on the statue's lips and so forth, as a prank, of course, which is kind of out of character for Karsus. But ale was flowing, and everybody was partaking in mischief and so forth. So he decides to do this. So cut to the next day when they finally are able to, it's actually Magic User that they have to go to get the stone to flesh deal done. And they go to the one that they know very well in town. And sure enough, he transforms him. And the gnome, of course, he's like, what in the... And finds out what had happened. And he decides he's going to get revenge on Karsus. And Cloche comes in and says, oh, you were the life of the party. You were the center of attention. You were the life of the party as your little statue, And that just pisses off the gnome, because he's like pissed because he got turned to stone. Now he finds out that everybody was fucking with him. And he's getting just furious. And that is his character. And so bottom line is he ends up, the next night, he is in the tavern. The gnome is in the tavern, and two other NPCs come in, and one of them is named Tor, T-O-R, and the other one is Borax. Now Borax is a dwarf, and Tor is a big human fighter barbarian type, and they both are fully outfitted for combat, big, double-headed axes, two-handed axes, the whole bit, And they come in, they're not causing any trouble, but they're kind of loud, and ordering ale and eating and drinking and, and everything else like that. And for whatever reason, the gnome goes over and starts talking to him and finds out that they're mercenaries. And he gets the idea, oh, well, maybe I'll hire these guys to kick the shit out of that frickin' horse guy for putting horse dung in my mouth, And so he does. And turns out that Karsus, the horse guy, was working a job where someone had asked for someone to break a horse. So I had him, he was actually at a farm, and he had been working all day breaking this horse. He was doing that while they were trying to get Hingle, the gnome, brought back to life and everything. He went off and took this job. And so he had done that all day. And, of course, the farmer offered for him to stay for dinner and then to stay the night. And then there was the whole farmer's daughter thing. Everybody knows the story of the farmer's daughter. I worked that into the story. So there's a farmer's daughter thing involved. Luckily, the farmer, did not catch Karsus with his daughter and so forth. But the next day, he goes out to start working with the horse again. And the two mercenaries, Tor and Borax, sure enough, show up to do what they were paid to do, kick his ass. And of course, Karsus is a bowman, and he wasn't having it. He sensed something was up, and so he starts unleashing arrows. And so the bottom line is they ensue in a combat, and of course they knock him out. They take some arrows, but they knock him out, and then they book it. They take off while the farmer's going to get the guard and everything. So mission accomplished. They did in fact lay the beat down on Karsus, but it was just and that's all that happened this session. I mean, it was just role playing in town the whole time, and it was hilarious. And there's a lot of other little storylines going on, which I'm not gonna, I'd have a hour video if I was to go into all of it, but that's kind of where we're at right now. And I don't know whether they're going to decide to go back into the temple, if they're going to follow a different storyline, if they're going to go to another part of the continent. I have no idea what their plan is to do next. So that is that campaign. Now, Pathfinder campaign, quick recap. We were in a dungeon, and there was a series of challenges, which quickly became apparent that it was either a challenge, could be a dexterity challenge, it could be a constitution challenge, it could be an intelligence challenge, or whatever. And my character thought that all of our characters had to go successfully through each challenge. Of course, that turned out not to be the case. Somebody had to go through each challenge. And the idea with the DM, of course, I think was that whoever the best person with that, so like for dexterity, my character, the rogue, would be the one to go, and he blazed right through that. He didn't have any problem with it. But my character thought they had to do them all. So he did the Constitution one and could not have failed it any worse. I mean, he failed every roll, and he died. I mean, dead. So the rest of the party decided to use gentle repose, that type of thing, and finally get him somewhere where they could get him resurrected. And, of course, my character had the money to pay for it, but so they took it out of there, and so he was resurrected and everything. And in the meantime, I played a character for one of the players that wasn't there to that last session. So basically, that's all that really happened. I mean, I had died, and they continued on, and now, luckily, I'm back. My character's back with the living. That character's name is Radar, and the rogue. And so we're going to play Pathfinder tomorrow, so there'll probably be an update after that. Now that he's back with the living, there'll be a much more detailed update. So that's the Pathfinder thing, but the other couple things I wanted to talk about were, one was an E3 topic. So for those of you that don't, like, I have some people that subscribe that are just role players, just tabletop role players. I have other people that play video games and aren't so much into the role playing, and then I'm sure I have some that do both and so forth. So I try to cover a little bit of everything. So for E3, I don't really care too much about the PlayStation and the Xbox stuff because I'm a PC gamer. I read some of the stuff, I watch videos of other YouTubers and so forth, but I really take notice when it's something affecting PC gamers. And the one, of course, I was following the most was Bethesda. Because Bethesda, does two of my all-time favorite franchises, Elder Scrolls and Fallout. And, of course, the big anticipation was that they would announce what Elder Scrolls 6, the follow-up to Skyrim, that hopefully they were going to say, yeah, we started working on it, it's going to be this. Nothing. Not only did they not make an announcement, but they basically came out and said, we're not even working on Elder Scrolls 6 yet. Whew. That sucks. Their big money makers, their big cash cows are Elder Scrolls and Fallout, period. Yeah, they got Doom. They've got the Dishonored series. So, yeah, they do have other stuff. But their big ones, everybody knows it. Elder Scrolls, Fallout. So, as somebody told me today at work, one of the other gamers, he said, I think they worked on Skyrim for 8 years, he said. So if they haven't even started Elder Scrolls 6, are we looking at 8 years from now at the minimum for the next Elder Scrolls? And then Fallout won't be until after that. Shit, is it going to be 15 years before I play the next Fallout 5? I mean, I'm going to be 65 years old. What kind of shit is that? I just, I mean, it's their company. They can do whatever they want, but I don't get it. I would think they would want to, I mean, look at Disney. Look what Disney did when they picked up Star Wars. When they bought, and I'm not wearing this shirt for that reason. It's just coincidental. I'm wearing it. But they bought Star Wars, and what did they do? They said, we're going to get shit out every year. We're going to get a new movie out every year. They're not sitting on their laurels. They're not screwing around. They know where their bread is buttered. Not that Disney doesn't have enough bread. I mean, shit, they've got an entire, planet of bakeries, with everything that they own. But the bottom line is, if they're in business to make money, they know if we keep making Star Wars movies, we're just going to keep getting more money. And that's kind of how it works. Bethesda is not taking that approach, because you'd think Elder Scrolls 6, I mean, Fallout 4 has been out now for I don't know how long. Elder Scrolls 6, if it was released in the next year or so, bang, super money for them, and then follow it up in a couple years with the next Fallout 5, and bang, more money. I mean, that seems to be logical to me, but they ain't what they're going to do. So, anyway, so disappointed with that, and I'm not alone. Everybody else I've watched has been disappointed as well. Let's also talk about the 5th edition announcements. Wizards of the Coast announced that Tomb of Annihilation, which I guess is going to kind of be loosely based on Tomb of Horrors, which should not surprise us. They've done Ravenloft, they've done the Temple of Elemental Evil, they've done the Giant series, and now apparently they're going to go into the Tomb of Horrors. I mean, so they're basically using all of the Greyhawk source material, all of the modules, but just not bringing back Greyhawk. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't care. I mean, no. Why would I care about that, right? I'm fine. No Elder Scrolls for another 8 years or so, and no Greyhawk in 5th edition. And, I'm okay. Well, at least I've got my Raiders. Maybe my Raiders, this will be their year to go to the Super Bowl. Who knows? Anyway, they also announced another product, Xanthar's Guide to Everything or something like that, which sounds like it's going to be like what a Volo's Guide was for Forgotten Realms before. And this one, that particular product is going to have a special exclusive cover for game stores. You won't be able to get that cover, just like they did with Volo's Guide to Monsters or whatever. And they did that very nice special cover. They're going to do that again with this Xanthar's thing, which I think is a fantastic idea to support the game stores. I think every product they put out, they should have an exclusive for the game stores. Every single one of them. The Giants book, the Elemental Evil books, they all should have had special covers so people had to buy them at the game stores. This is only the second one though, so I'd like to see them expand that. I'd like to see them do that more. But anyway, so we're going on 20 minutes here. Cheers. There'll be a Beer 30 coming up probably this weekend. And we'll catch you guys on the flip side.